Hello everyone, welcome to Active Directory Solution Center. My name is Sai. I'm a Directory Services MVP. My day job includes I work as a infrastructure consultant managing different infrastructure projects. Today's topic is on Microsoft Identity and Access Management. Most of the organizations are moving from a conventional authentication model or conventional directory services model to a more elastic model with by having or by integrating a different identity stores. So they are using the identity stores for authentication, authenticating their apps, the web apps, on-premise, across the cloud, across Azure, across AWS. They're trying to use the different directories such as it may be an Active Directory which has been provided by Microsoft, or IBM's identity store, or Oracle's identity store. So any directory store, but there should be a processes, there should be the policies to manage these digital identities. And the whole goal of identity and access management is to specify how digital identities are used across different resources. So identity and access management initiatives tend to be more complex than most other IT projects. So it is not the easiest ones to manage, just because of the diversity of identity stores and the different protocols gets engaged, the different encryption mechanisms we have, different policies in place, and different governing bodies that needs to align together, that needs to work together to complete the project. So a comprehensive strategy can significantly reduce the effort required to manage the digital identities in large networks. This can be done by implementing different standards and reducing the number of identity stores. And also few other factors would be like you're gonna establish trust between them. You say we have a delegated administrative model to improve the user sign-on experience with the security not being ignored. So you're gonna have the strength and security to support this identity management model. So the question comes in what's the business purpose for all this? Like, what are the business requirements? What's the cost associated with this? So, and how is the security? So any conversation we enter in with the customers, they have a single question in mind, like what's the security? How the security is being provided to manage the identity solution. So to answer that, like, security is not only a matter of whom or what do you keep out, it's also about like whom or what you choose to let in, and what level of access the principals or the users are being granted. Who are the people who will be accessing the resources? Like we might have the employees accessing the resources, we have the contractors coming in, we have a acquired customers in place, we have divestments, and we still support the employees when it is divested. So we have the various business partners, and everyone have unique requirements. Everyone wants to access the data and applications. So with this model in mind, it is really crucial for organizations to define and implement an access management policy that allows only specifically authorized users to access sensitive information. So the security is also about effective operational management. So it's like, if you have a poor management processes covering the accounts that represents employees or the contractors or the customers or partners, that itself increases the security risks. So for example, you have you're going to manage accounts for millions of online customers. and that's going to be like a that can overload the conventional user account management systems. Organizations also do not have the same knowledge and control over partner employees. Like they don't have their own employee accounts. So how are we going to implement the security activities around the identity and access management? So these are the following. I mean, the following section, I'm going to explain the various security activities that needs to be performed or that needs to be carried across or in line with the identity access management project or any of the project that you undertake. So the first one would be like improving account policy enforcement. So when we say like improving account policy enforcement, security can be improved by managing accounts accordingly to predefined standards. So account policy enforcement define rules and procedures for implementing advanced security measures. So examples include requiring administrators to use smart cards and ensuring all the users have complex passwords and change them frequently. So these can be implemented using your domain controller password policy, or group policies can be enforced onto the client machines and say, well, this is the minimal security, minimal password length, and this is the time when you have to you're supposed to change your password. So these things can be done very easy, and we can target the users to specific organization units in the domains in the Active Directory when you manage the AD. So the second one would be like removing the stale user accounts or stale principles, security principles. Security principles in my context would be like any user, computer, device, any accounts that the users will use, and just go ahead and delete the stale accounts. So one of the critical operation or management tasks for organizations is like disable the accounts for employees, contractors, partners when the accounts are no longer needed. So if they are not disabled, the original account holder can misuse them, gain unauthorized access to the systems. So stale accounts are really an attractive targets for malicious users and attackers, since they are likely to have outdated static credentials, and any misuse or potential compromise of an account is less likely to be noticed. So you need to have your monitoring utilities keep monitoring these accounts, and you can pump this information to the report and say, well, I mean, these are not the users in the project anymore, or these are not the users in the organization anymore. Just go ahead and disable or delete them completely out from the database. It may be IBM, it may be Microsoft provided Active Directory, it may be Oracle. So any identities, these measures should be taken care of. And the third one is you're going to improve application data protection. So to meet organizational security requirements, applications must transfer data through secure mechanisms. So you need to identify applications which has the sensitive information, and applications which are commercial. Like we don't really have any sensitive data. So sensitive data must require both authentication and authorization for that to be accessed. So it must be protected on the network to prevent attackers from intercepting the data. So it's just they use the sniffing protocols, they do the DLL hookings, or maybe run the Wireshark, try to understand the logic, or you have several different sniffing tools with the parsers on. So you need to be really careful with the application data protection. The fourth one would be implementing strong authentication. So commonly used authentication techniques and credentials may not provide the level of security needed for critical applications and data. So Microsoft strongly recommends using authentication mechanisms such as Kerberos version 5 and above, and PKI infrastructure where possible to improve overall security of your resources. And the next one is like managing credentials with the directory services. While everyone knew, most of us knew, like directory services have many users in an organization. They can provide specific security benefits. For example, advanced authentication methods such as smart cards, biometrics can greatly improve the security of organization. Unfortunately, such systems also introduce complexity and additional data above users that must be rigorously maintained and centrally accessible. So deploying such systems is easy when a robust directory infrastructure is in place. So that's a critical one. So the next one is like improving authorization. Well, so improving authorization must be flexible enough to provide both general and precise access to resources. So for example, like general access to let all employers have an access to a particular application, where precise access only allows employees in the finance department to perform a specific operation on a finance application between like 9 a.m. in the morning to 3 p.m. in the evening, and users should be mapped logically to the roles such as database administrator, help desk operator, application user, etc. That's the authorization measures that should be taken care of. And the next one would be managing entitlements through provisioning. So a properly implemented provisioning system enforces the consistent application of policies for requesting and approving entitlements. So enforcement is made easier when all business units can easily follow the same process. So how many times have you seen that these business units follow, every business unit has their own process, and that's going to be a more complex or critical task for anyone to manage. So it is advisable to have the same process being followed by different business units, and a provisioning system also provides, and should be in place, which provides an audit trail that records when decisions and approvals were made and by whom. The next one would be implementing identity lifecycle management, our most critical one. So an identity lifecycle management process helps keep user entitlements current over the course of a career. So for example, if we have an employee move from England to Australia, and he's back in England, he was in the finance department, and he moved on to the Australia to the marketing department. So the identity lifecycle management process should be carefully evaluated for these activities, and he should be removed access from the finance and grant access to the marketing only required applications. So identity lifecycle management processes can be either manual or automated. So you have different solutions in the market which can automate the process, which can be manual. So automated processes typically increase the level of security by removing and granting access in more timely manner, and ensuring that both operation takes place at the same time. And the next topic would be managing groups. So our best security practice requires any organizations to keep control over group membership through effective group management. Group membership can give access rights and privileges, so it is important to ensure that each group only contains the correct accounts. Identity and access management system can assign user accounts to correct groups and create dynamic groups depending on the account attributes, and then provision these accounts into directory services and email systems. And the next one would be reducing the service attack. Multiple identity stores, which is usually commonly seen in larger organizations, present an increased risk of compromise of user accounts. If each store is not managed to a common high standard, you will be having the directory accounts is susceptible for the attacks. So similarly, a variety of authentication methods typically means that threats to the entire system are less well known and less easily mitigated. Reducing the total number of security systems and mechanism means that remaining ones can be better managed and secured. So we need to take a relevant steps in order to manage these and reduce the amount of identity stores where possible and where required. And the last one would be making it easy for users to do the right thing. So SSO, single sign-on, it makes easier for users to comply with organization password policy. When faced with having to reminder and manage multiple passwords, it's only natural for people to create simple ones and write down the complex passwords that could be left unprotected in work area. Right, so these are few of the or the critical or the major security activities that should be typically associated with any identity access management in place. So the intention of this podcast is to address, I mean, because before a start of any identity management project, these are the key security policies that needs to be taken care of. And I hope this podcast would help different identity management solution projects. Thank you very much.